Hey guys, it's Mark and Lauren, and this is This Alaska Life. We wanted to share with you a couple of our top favorite things about living in Alaska in case you're thinking about moving to Alaska, or you are moving to Alaska, or you wanted to visit Alaska. We want to share some of our favorite things about living here.
So I love how accessible the wilderness is. It is. So we live right on the edge of the biggest city in Alaska, but within, even just right in our backyard, we can see bears and other animals. You see moose. You can go hiking just a few minutes from our house and you're in the Chugach State Park. We can go down in our plane. It's a 15-minute drive away, take off, and within 15, 20 miles we're flying over glaciers, we're seeing wild animals. I can load up the kids and you can drive either direction of the road and go fishing for salmon. All these really, really neat things you can do, and it's so accessible, but yet we also live 3 miles away from a large convenient grocery store, a Fred Meyer's, or 15 minutes away from a Costco. And so that is one thing I love. I spent 2 years living over in Europe when I was 19 to 21, and one of the first things I noticed when I came back was I was just amazed with just the accessibility of wilderness. It was something I was living in cities that whole time, in Madrid and other really big cities, and it was something I missed, and it felt like it just filled me again with kind of energy once I came home, and just that accessibility. So we love it.
To go along with that, like we said, we live in Eagle River, and it is as metropolitan as Alaska goes. And we love that we can just go out into the wilderness just right in our backyard. There are many places in Alaska that people choose to live because they don't want to have anybody around them, and they come in and go to the store once a year or twice a year. They have to fly in and go grocery shopping at Costco, or because groceries are so expensive out in the bush and off the road system. But we like that we can get the best of both worlds right here where we live.
It's a great balance because you can have a great career and you can work, your kids can go to school and do all these things. And at the same time, if you want to go out into the wilderness, it's so close and so accessible.
And there's never, we would never be able to do all the hikes and float all the rivers and try all the things. There's just too many things to do. And you find your favorites and you tend to go back to those favorite ones. And then every once in a while, you'll find a new favorite and you'll start trying that out. But if you're adventurous, there's just so many different places to explore and so many different things to see.
So what is one of your favorite things?
One thing that I love about living in Alaska is that during the summer, there is just so much daylight that you can just play. You just soak it all in all summer, and you can be out at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and you are like, oh, I thought it was only 5 o'clock because it's so light out. And we really just try and soak up the entire summer. We often get asked, how do you deal with the winter up there? How do you it just seems so dark. And while it is dark in the winter time, when we play and pack so much in during the summer, and then we're a hunting family, so we have a lot going on in the fall. By the time winter hits, we're ready for a little bit more being at home and relaxing, and we finally watch some TV because we really do very little of that during the summer. It's just too amazing here to sit at home. So all the daylight is something that we actually really love. It sometimes is really hard on tourists to come up during the summer and sleep because it's so light. Mark grew up with no blinds on the windows, so our kids have pretty much just learned to sleep when it's daylight out.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. In the winter, sometimes I'll close the blinds, but in the summer, I keep them open the whole time. I don't know why, it's just what I like, and it feels comfortable, and you usually just collapse into bed exhausted at whatever time it is, and when you wake up, it's light, you go to bed, it's still light, and I'll find myself mowing the lawn at 10 o'clock at night, because that's, maybe you got the kids to bed, everything, and you think, oh, well, I hope the neighbors aren't going to be frustrated, but it's light, and there's just things to do, and you just go. And then, like Lauren said, in the fall, usually you're exhausted and you're kind of ready to just take a breath and do some other stuff and turn on the TV and watch some shows or do something else.
Now, that's not everybody that lives in Alaska. That's not the same. That's just our experience because of the way that we live. There are people that will put tinfoil over their windows so that they can sleep when it's so bright, but we just are so used to it. We love the light.
Another thing that I really love about Alaska is all of the public land. And that's something that I didn't realize when I was a kid. I just thought that's how it always was. But Alaska has huge tracts of state-owned land and federally owned land that are open to anyone. And so I've had a unique way to, view of this as a pilot, and as my dad had a plane and all the adventures we went on, is that, you can go out, like I said, even close to Anchorage, and there's all this public land. So you can go and travel, and it's very accessible for camping and hunting and picnicking. And there's just so many places you can go explore. When I was traveling around the United States, when I was younger in college, or also when I lived in Europe, that's just not the same case. And so there's fences all over the place, and there's private land and all these signs. And so here it just feels so much more open and free. I have a distinct memory of when I returned from Spain when I was 21. The day after I got back, my dad took me out in his float plane, and we took off from Lake Hood, and we flew up over the inlet, and within a couple minutes we were away from the city, and there's like a cabin here or there, and it's just all this land, and you can see for miles and miles and miles of just forest, and essentially all of that is just public state-owned land. Some of it's federal, and it was just an incredible feeling to me to see that again after I'd lived in Europe for 2 years, where there really isn't public land. Everything's owned, and it's divvied up, and it's just such a different feeling, and it's a great thing.
All right, one of the things that I have learned to appreciate in the state of Alaska is hunting and eating what you hunt. And I did not grow up doing anything like that. When we moved up here, my dad and I learned how to salmon fish and things like that, but I had never been around hunting. And so when Mark and I got married and his parents got the first moose, it was just like a whole new experience for me. And I have really come to appreciate the process, how hard it is to get a moose, and then the work that goes into processing all that meat. But we just are really grateful when we have a freezer full of food that we can eat throughout the whole year that we know is healthy and good for our family. And Mark's family always processes most of their meat all on their own, and we every once in a while we'll take a little bit to a butcher to make it into something. But in the recent years, Mark has kind of taken up that and makes amazing things out of our meat. He makes sausages and Italian sausage and pepperoni and all sorts of yummy things and we can meat, and then we have a bunch in the freezer. So I've just really come to appreciate kind of living off of what we can harvest, at least in the meat department.
So since I grew up here, and my parents were already, so I'm the fourth of 5 kids, and my parents were outdoors people, and they had a whole system down by the time I was born. So I was just born into the family, and I was expected to work and participate and help clean salmon and prepare them to cook. And I was going on bear hunts and moose hunts when I was pretty young. And there was a 20-plus year period when I was a kid where my dad got a moose every year. And then thankfully we've gotten a moose. I feel really grateful. It's taken a lot of work and a lot of effort, but we've gotten one every year for the last 7, maybe 8 years. And so, I mean, that essentially will feed a family well for a whole year.
Plus sharing some.
And so we've been eating a moose a year for the last 7 to 8 years, and then sharing some with my parents, with her parents, and other people. But that's not the experience for everyone. There's a lot of people that don't hunt up here, and then there's people that do hunt that may not have that same success. But it's something that we thought was feel is really important, so we put a lot of effort into it and make it happen. It's a way of life. There's a number of times I've heard people say, "Oh, wow, you must save so much money because you get a moose every year." But honestly, I try not to think about it, because the cost of boat gas or airplane and your rifle and the
time off work,
week and a half off work, and all that stuff is like, wow.
And then days and days of butchering. It's never free. It's never free meat, but we do really enjoy the whole process of it. And thankfully Mark's parents love the whole process, and they will come and help us because it's just, it's fun. It's a good experience. Our kids really get into grinding the meat and helping us package it up. So it's like a whole family thing. And it's really nice because our kids know where their food come from. We do have a really good garden during the summer. We have a big raspberry patch, and then we have our meat. And so they have no question about where food actually comes from.
And the game and the stuff that you harvest up here is super healthy. And we're not perfect in our eating in other ways, you know, well, in soda and sugars and other stuff, but at least that stuff is super healthy. I mean, there's hardly any fat in it. And, you know, in the salmon, it's good kind of nutrients and good fat, or the halibut, just really good stuff. If you open up our freezer, I mean, it's pretty much full of moose meat and salmon and halibut, and then, you know, loaves of bread and odds and ends, jam and things like that. You know, other people up here in Alaska, sometimes people choose kind of their animal of choice. I mean, if you're in Southeast Alaska, most people there hunt deer because it's a lot more accessible, and you know, they'll shoot 3 or 4 deer a year, and that's what they fill their freezer full. Other people in South Central or interior of Alaska, they're really into caribou or black bears and other stuff, but it's hard to beat moose.
Yeah, so we love moose, we love deer. Mark is an avid Dall sheep hunter and goat hunter. Those are not my favorite, but he has had a lot of fun getting those, and we do eat them. So those are not my favorite meats, but if he gets one, we make sure that we use all of it and put it to good use.
Mm-hmm. And so hunting is kind of a passion and a thing that we do, but we're not necessarily trophy hunters. I mean, any animal that we harvest, we eat all of it. We take all of the meat. And by law, by the law of state of Alaska, law and rules require that you salvage all of the edible meat off of any animal that you harvest, with a few exceptions. But essentially any moose, caribou, deer, all those type of things, or a black bear, you have to salvage all the meat. And so of course we do that by law. And then it is good stuff to eat. And so my father taught me this rule when I was younger, and I generally adhere to it, which is shoot the first legal animal that you see, and then if there's more than one, shoot the biggest one of the ones that you see. And so generally I follow that rule because we're more in the practice of trying to fill the freezer and hunting for food. On occasion we've got some really nice ones and some really big ones, but generally they're, you know, it's not trophy, it's for the table.
Yeah, I always remind Mark when he's leaving, the horns don't fill the freezer, so just come back as soon as you can with a good moose so that we can move on with the process of getting it in the freezer. But like he said, in that process, I was able to shoot over 50-inch moose for my first moose. So Mark gave me a real experience right from the get-go of shooting a moose.
Yep. So Lauren's actually helped us a couple times too. So she's shot in 2 moose and 1 deer, 2 deer, I don't know, but a couple moose. And
Hunter, our oldest son, has taken over the going with Dad on the deer hunting, so he has gotten a couple deer as well.
Yep.
All right, one last thing that you love about Alaska.
I love you, hon. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, we love having our family here. My parents are snowbirds now, so that means that they go and spend their winters outside or in the lower 48. These are all things that Alaskans say. So they go down for the winter and come back up for the summer. So we love it when they're here.
I have a sister that lives in South Anchorage, and Lauren has a sister that lives there with their family. And then my parents live in Anchorage. So when I grew up in Anchorage, we had 5 kids in my family. I'm the 4th of 5. And my parents moved up here, and they started their family here, but we had no other relatives. And so when I grew up, it was just my parents and my siblings and us. And so once I got married to Lauren, and I had her parents and my parents, and then my sister came back, and
my sister,
Lauren's
my brother
sister,
was here.
and she had numerous siblings that have kind of come and gone. And it's been a really neat experience for me and for our kids to have family around.
And beyond family, the people in Alaska are wonderful. We have made some amazing friends up here, especially people that can, deal with our crazy kids and go on fun adventures with us. People are amazing. We've really made some good friends here. Mark's best friend, he grew up with them, they hunt together, and then I've made some really good close friends as well. So the people are really nice in general, and we really just love being here. We love the people, we love the scenery, we love the animals. It's really, for us, it's a great place to live.
Thank you so much for watching our video, and we hope you enjoyed some of it and learned something new about Alaska and about us. We'd love to have you watch our other videos on our channel. And if you have any questions, put them down in the comments below and let us know where you're watching from.
We make videos about our Alaskan life, our adventures, and answering questions you have about living in Alaska. And we will see you again soon.